Why blade jumper outdoes Olympic winners but can't compete with them? American Mike Powell's world record of 8.95 meter and his compatriot Bob Beamon's Olympic record of 8.90 meter are still some distance away for Rehm. When Germany's Markus Rehm won gold in the long jump with 8.18 meters at the Tokyo Paralympics last week, he was disappointed. Rehm, going by the moniker Blade Jumper, was well short of his para world record of 8.62 meters set in June. American Mike Powell's world record of 8.95 meter and his compatriot Bob Beamon's Olympic record of 8.90 meter are still distance away from Rehm. Yet his personal best is still good enough for gold at every Olympic Games since 1992. But the 33-year-old has been stopped from competing at two Olympic Games. He takes off with his right prosthetic leg, which is deemed to give him an advantage, although his leg is amputated below the knee. Battering able body jumpers. In the final T64 class, Rem jumped 83 cm more than the silver medalists. France Dimitri Pavade, yet it is the comparison with able-bodied Olympic champions that makes his efforts stand out. His best jump of 18.18 meter at the Paralympics would have placed him joint fourth at Tokyo Olympics. In June, the Para Athletics European Championship in Bedskor, Poland, he set the world record of 8.62 meter. This was better than gold medal winners of the past 7 Olympic Miltiadis Tengslo 8.41 meter Tokyo, Jeff Henderson 8.838 meter Rio, Greg Rutherford 8.31 meter London, Irvin Saldano 8.34 meter Beijing, Dewitt Phillips 8.59 meter Athens, Ivan Predreso 8.55 meter Sydney, Carl Lewis 8.29 meter Atlanta. However, Rem's bid to compete in the Olympic Games has suffered setbacks in the past. No Olympic entry. In 2014, German Athletics Federation excluded Rem from the squad for European Athletics Championship in Zurich. Although he had won the long jump at the National Championship, DLV President Clemens Prokop said back then that the decision followed biometric measurement done at the Nationals in Ulm, which showed the prosthetics may give him an unfair advantage because of catapult effect. There is significant doubt that jumps with a leg prosthesis and natural joint are comparable. Prokop was quoted as saying by the Associated Press. 2 years later, he could not compete in the Rio Olympics after a study to find out if his prosthetic blade gave him an advantage was inconclusive. One of the researchers, Professor Wolfgang Poster of the Institute of Biomechanics and Orthopedics at the German Sport University Cologne, said prosthesis gave Raymond a less efficient start on the runway but a more efficient jump. He saw disadvantage in the run-up or athletics with amputations of the lower thigh that we could determine were due to the prosthesis. But in the movement technique, we noted an advantage due to improved jump efficiency. These are two completely different movements and cannot be offset, Reuters quoted posted as saying. Just before the Olympics, Rev decided to join World Athletics, then called IAAF, working group to study the use of prosthesis and put aside his attempt to participate against the able-bodied athlete at the Games. He was also unable to participate at the Tokyo Olympics because of an existing rule of World Athletics. World Athletics Rule. The amended rule of 6.3.4 deals with the mechanical aids that are considered assistance. The use of any mechanical aid, unless on the balance of probabilities the use of an aid would not provide them with an overall competitive advantage over an athlete not using such aid. The earlier rule put the burden of proof of an athlete, but it was removed in the amended rules following criticism by the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Different kinds of blades. Rehm, who competes in the 100 meter 4 into 100 relay and long jump, uses different kinds of blades. The 3-time Paralympics gold winner in the long jump wears a carbon fiber blade prosthesis after a wakeboarding accident when he was a teenager. The stiffness of the blade he uses for sprints is less than that of the one used for jumping. He told the Sports Medical Journal as better the jump takeoff requires more stiffness. If you are tried to jump off a sprint blade, it would flex too much and collapse. Jumping is always a compromise though, because you need to be fast on the run up and to take off well. So you must find a compromise between the different stiffness needed for the two parts. Thank you.